primary YouTube channel, Tony Harvin. YouTube, I greet everybody upon this afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. We're here to have a good conversation. Y'all know my disclaimer. I'm not a pastor preacher. I don't hold any type of office in the church, so please do not lay claims of those titles on me. We're not here to violate any type of community guidelines, any type of copyright infringement, or any type of privacy guidelines at all. We're here to have a basic conversation. We're here to have a basic conversation for the most part. I received a text message a couple of days ago about these two individuals, and I thought it'd be a great conversation. For the most part, we know there's going to be some overrighteous people on here and all this other stuff who don't know how to have it. It's a simple conversation, but we're going to try our best to bear with those type of people. So I guess somebody asked me about who I like the most. The other day, somebody asked me who I like the most, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King Jr. It was a basic conversation. My choice was Malcolm X. That was my pick. So I thought I'd put it up here, just to see the people's thoughts about the conversation at hand. Listen to the overrighteous people. We know God is number one. We know God makes the best impact for the most part. We know all that. Yeah, I mean, we know all that. We just here to have a basic conversation. All right, what's up to Christopher Span? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. Christopher Span, one of the moderators on here. Appreciate that. What's up to Cell Express? He says, greetings to you, brother Tony Harvin, and all the brothers and sisters. Hope all is well with you and your family, for sure. Just here enjoying the day off. Well, somewhat of a day off, but, we're just here chit-chatting, having a good conversation upon this afternoon. What's up to Gwendolyn? Hope all is well. Span says, Malcolm X, and it's not even close. Malcolm X. Why you think Malcolm X had more of an impact than Martin Luther King Jr.? All right, Gino P says, Dr. King. Uh-oh. Gino P, you picked Dr. King? Wow. Express says, same with me, enjoying the day off. That's cool. Yeah, man. All right, what's up to Pop Creation? Shout out to you. God bless you too. What's up to Brooklyn's 100? Hope all is well with you at Brooklyn. Christopher Span says, Dr. King was a sellout for the elites. Wow. You said Dr. King was a sellout. I think this is not my first. I think somebody else mentioned that too. I don't know if that was Prodigal Son or somebody mentioned that Dr. King was a sellout. Hopefully he comes on here and possibly confirm that and whatnot. But that's very interesting that you mentioned that at Christopher Span. You says, and I have plenty of evidence to support this. You say you got plenty of evidence. Are you talking about like video links and things of that nature? Or newspaper articles or photos of how Dr. King was a sellout? You know what I mean? Let me know. Okay, not a problem. Feel free to send over the links. I believe you could do it in the chat room and whatnot. Take a look at it. All right. Sion, what up? You said that's why they celebrate his birthday and not Malcolm X's birthday. That's a good point right there. That's a good point right there. Why don't they celebrate or have a day for Malcolm X? And they have a day for Martin Luther King Jr. Good point right there. All right, Christopher Span says, one thing about being an ex-Pan-Africanist, we ate and breathed this stuff. Wow. That's some deep stuff right there. Sion says, oh, you just adding on to what you said. The first time you said that's why they celebrate his birthday. and not Malcolm X's birthday, and you put was with a star, and you put he dead. I don't really know how to combine that sentence all together, and whatnot. But I take it you're for Malcolm X. I take it that you're for Malcolm X over Martin Luther King. Christopher Span says, "Don't get me wrong. Dr. King had many contributions." All right, Gino P says Dr. King was a better organizer, mover of crowds, and had a stronger following. Better organizer, a mover of crowds, and had a strong following. What you say about that, at Mr. Span? It's a great conversation, great dialogue. You know what I mean? Some for Dr. King, some for Malcolm X. Span says better organization, better organization. He says the question, by what organization? Oh man, that's funny. That's real funny. All right. Sion says, I am. He was amazing. He wanted African Americans to work on their own. I guess you mean in their own community, have decency. Not like what we see now in reference to Malcolm X. What's up to Big Mama? 32406. Hope all is well. All right. Christopher Span said, yes, he was very organized. Let's start from the beginning. Sure. Sure you can, at Christopher Span. In reference to the two individuals, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, I mean, I should have put this on the StreamYard. I mean, but I just wanted to put it on here just to see how it would go with the conversation. Maybe we'll have a part 2 later on down the road. What's up to Shemaya 40? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. He says, greetings, brother Tony. And chat, God bless you. Right back at you. At Shemaya 40. All right. So Gino P believes Mr. King was a better organizer, mover of crowds, had a stronger following. He also stated that Dr. King was in falsehood for sure, but Dr. King had Washington on his side. JFK. Falsehood. Are you if that's the case, I would say Malcolm X was in falsehood too. If we speaking on like a religion basis, I'd say both of them was in falsehood. You know what I mean? But I heard Geno Jennings says that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, they did good stuff, but it wasn't enough. You know what I mean? He didn't choose between the two. But he said Dr. King, I tried to find a video. I didn't take notes. I should have took notes on that part. But he said Dr. King and Malcolm X, they did good, but it wasn't enough. All right. Let me see. Sion said you need to watch Uncle Tom and you need to hear Chad O. Jackson about Martin Luther. Uncle Tom. All right. Sion says he was not what people think he is. He was part of the elite, absolutely. He had a lot of backings. In reference to who? All right, Christopher Span says, man, you said Tony Harvin, no debate, but it's so much information. I respect Dr. King. He just didn't have the courage to fight against the elites. He says paper brown Negroes and also led many to hell with his doctrine. He says, yet Malcolm, and that's all I see. What's up to Shirley Dotson? He says, Martin Luther King is more impact for me. Mr. King came to my small town in March. Thank you, Mr. Harvin. Right? So we got maybe half and half on here who's for Dr. King and Malcolm X and stuff like that. All right, Shemaya says, what's the topic? Because I didn't catch it, please. Well, basically, the topic is a question: who had more of an impact, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King Jr.? That's the topic at hand right now that we are having a smooth conversation about at Shemaya 40. Oh, Christopher Span says we need live stream for sure. That'd be good for like a Friday or Saturday night, a live stream about that, about Dr. King or Malcolm X. Have a couple of brothers on the panel if they want to come up there, non-biblical discussion. You know, we definitely could set that up for sure. What's up to Tanya Bond? Shout out to you. Sion 45, you said Martin Luther was not no example. You said Malcolm X. You said you need to hear Chad O. Jackson. All right. Christopher Span says both were in the wrong as far as their doctrine. Yeah, I agree. For the most part, you know. But y'all mentioned Span. You mentioned Malcolm X. Gino P mentioned Martin Luther King. Does either or still have impact in these days? You know what I mean? Does either or, whether both of them, one of them, or none of them, do they still have an impact in these days? Shemaya 40 says, I think both. But Dr. King did more with his movement to push fairness for us, all no matter the color. It wasn't about racism. Christopher Span says both were wrong with their many ideologies. But he says Malcolm went against the grain. That needs to be recognized. Not a problem at Shemaya 40. Sion says he's not no doctor. Martin Luther King was all about partying while Malcolm X was risking his life. You said Martin Luther King was partying? Where you get that from? Where you get that from? Do you have any evidence, pictures, links about that? You said you guys need to really do your research about Martin Luther. Christopher Span said he went against organizations and his former teacher and was on the verge if knowing of, I guess you meant of knowing who God was. What's up, the parish? Shout out to you. You says Martin was of the elite. He was a part of the Divine Nine. He definitely probably had more backing. You're not the only person who said that about having more backing, and whatnot. If Malcolm X had backing like Martin Luther King, would he have been way more impactful? Just in general. That's another question out there to those tuning in, for those conversating in the chat room, and for those individuals in the background. For the most part. What's up to Gwendolyn? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. Appreciate that. Sion says, I love Malcolm. I mean, what makes you love Malcolm X? What makes that? Yeah, I mean, and people could like the two individuals based upon what they have done in communities and stuff like that, versus, their doctrine. Can people like somebody because they do good things in the community, but have a false doctrine or push false doctrine or ideologies? Could that be possible? Shemaya 40 said, it's much we can say, but behind closed doors, no one really knows. But I believe that they both did all they could do to help get the black population on an equal path as everyone else. Well, Dr. King, I believe he was not just about blacks. You know what I mean? But I think Malcolm X was more so pinpoint on just black people. All right. Gino P says, ballot or the bullet speech made by Malcolm X is one of the best speeches for sure. But Malcolm can't compare to the crowd Dr. King moved though. Ballot or the bullet speech. Lord willing, I could check that out. What's up to Philip Powell, who says hello. What up, Paris? Bro SV says greetings and peace to everyone. Everybody, excuse me. What up, brother SV? Shemaiah 40 says, I know, but that's what made him go harder. And you making reference to Malcolm X going harder. Question mark. Paris says Malcolm spoke for the people in general. Yeah. What's up to what is that? Naisha? You said, how does he have a false doctrine when they just got the Bible that's like them? Saying we are preaching a false doctrine because most churches only want is money. They're not helping nobody. Well, here's the deal with Martin Luther King Jr. or whatever the case may be. He may have preached some truth from the Bible and whatnot. See, a lot of people, yeah, they follow the Bible, but they can misinterpret it wrong. You know what I mean? And that could be the issue right there. Now, Martin Luther King, he seemed to be more focused on civil rights. You know what I mean? Versus learning how to understand the truth. Or praying to understand the truth and push the truth as far as like the scriptures and whatnot. You know what I mean? So you're saying that when they just got the Bible, what you mean they just got the Bible? What do you mean by that? You know? You said saying we are preaching a false doctrine because most churches only want is money. Who is we? You're making it seem like you was under Dr. King. You gotta let me know. All right, brother SV says Malcolm X had a more international outlook after he traveled to Africa and to Arabia, and after he denounced the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. Shemaiah 40 said, Dr. King, I was speaking on. Sion says Malcolm X's heart was in the right place. All right, Shemaiah 40 said, yes, excuse me. That's because if you don't have a true man of God to preach the gospel, then you would quote things and not have no understanding. Okay. All right. What's up to Elgin Watkins? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. Appreciate that. What up to Yoki 6? He says, I think the impact of both Martin and Malcolm is equal. Equal. Very interesting. What makes you think that? At Yoki 6. Naisha says most of them. You said most of them was born in the 1900s, and they can what is that? You put Breely. Articulate the King James Bible. Well, I'm not here to. I really don't want to go into all that right now, but we can. Hey Smith, if you're listening, man, you funny. Smith, you funny if you in the background. You funny for this one. I would show the people, but I ain't gonna do that. All right. The King James Version. Well, when was the King James Version brought about? Let Let me look this up right quick. It says 1604, and the first edition was 1611. You know, so let me know what you think about that at Naisha, excuse me. All right, not a problem. I see on Shemaiah 40 says you can know something but not understand it. But when you have understanding of something, you know, then you can talk on that level for sure. All right, Matthew McCauley says I would say Martin Luther King because he brought unity. Malcolm X was more for the liberation of black people. As far as mindset, being confident, having self-respect, and expanding the mind. Okay. Dawn says, greetings, Tony, in chat and background as I'm getting ready for work. All right. Sion says, Malcolm X was thinking for himself even after finding out about Elijah Muhammad. He was not afraid to disassociate himself and work for his community. He wanted better for his people. Wow. Yeah, that's something right there. When you find out your leader is tipping and dipping with little kids, you know what I mean? That part I respect about Malcolm X, because a lot of people who find out about their leader, whether it's some so-called preacher, whatever the case may be, touching on kids, they still ride with them. And I'm glad that Malcolm X exposed that to the public. Also, all right. Span says, what unity? You said he brought organizational unity in reference to Matthew McCauley's comment. Sion said he was not tied to nobody. You wanted black Americans to think for themselves. That's why they took him out. He says, I think he meant well. He was not a Christian, of course, but he wanted better for the people. Now, I will say this. There are people out there who may not be Christians, but they do want better for the people. And there may be people out here who call themselves a Christian who may not have that mindset. I think Geno Jennings mentioned that there are some people out here who are more righteous than people in the church. The ones who don't, some people who don't go to church are more righteous than the ones that claim to be Christians. All right, Yoki says, I would like to give my honest opinion, but I don't think y'all ready. What? I don't get that part. I don't know what you mean by that, Yoki. We're not ready. Huh? All right, Sion says, Malcolm X was focused on his people because he saw what was happening. He knows all about their strategy. Bullet speech. Brother SV, you says Malcolm X wasn't a hypocrite. He lived what he preached about. Said Malcolm X wasn't a hypocrite. Sion says absolutely. He was not no hypocrite in reference to Brother SV. We got some more people riding for Malcolm X. And I choose Malcolm X over Martin Luther King myself. You understand? Span says during the 1950s and 60s, many of the churches in the South were powerhouses. You have to deal with the upbringing of Martin Dr. King first in order to deal with impact. Okay. Not a problem, Andrew. We'll do on the prayers. Shemaiah 40 says, people don't understand what Christians are that's Christ-like. And honestly, I haven't seen one, but we have many that are trying to be Christ-like. Well, trying and giving the effort, I think, is different from those who just got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. All right. Matthew says to Christopher, equal rights so you can use the same fountain, bathroom, and classroom with your Caucasian brother. You can freely go now to a restaurant without being harassed. Sion says maybe Martin Luther started to see what Malcolm was talking about. Maybe that's why they took him out too. Well, I can't say that. Naisha says Malcolm X learned how to read in 1948 before he was released from prison. Martin Luther King went to college. Education was hard for the black community back then. Okay. What's up to EFP? Elvira said thanks for stopping by earlier today. For sure. She means her YouTube channel. For all those overthinkers out there. Her YouTube channel. Yeah, I mean, you know how people be thinking. Wicked minds. All right? Shemaya 40 says, we, many, you put we, we, many that are trying, and which is good if you ask me, because you have to start somewhere. I didn't get the first sentence that you wrote. Oh, you put typo? What up to Jackie McCall? Shout out to you. Yeah, Jackie McCall, you'll be good on the panel too. He'll be good. Jackie McCall, Christopher Span, Gino P, G Money, and Prodigal Son. For a topic like this, that'd be a good panel right there, man. For sure. And a couple other heads out there also. Sion says Malcolm X went through a lot. He didn't want no riches. I believe he was working for the black community. He wanted better for his people. His wife and his kids were not treated equally as Loretta. All right, Christopher Span says, sir, and you put that had nothing to do with the movement of Dr. King. It was all political economics, had nothing to do with Dr. Martin Luther King. That's funny because there's laws still in effect to this day in reference to Matthew. What up to David B? Shout out to you. You said what panel? Well, Christopher Span made a suggestion that this topic should be on like a live stream, like a panel. And I agree with that. Maybe it'll be a part 2, whereas though some brothers come on a non-biblical discussion who had more of an impact, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? That's the panel I'm talking about. That I would think it would be good for like a Friday night, Saturday night type of thing. We could set that up, and it could be more of a dialogue about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, because a lot of people have studied more deeper on the two, all right, and their beliefs and stuff like that. So that'd be a good one. Sion says the civil rights movement seems like a good thing for the black community, but if you really look at it, it wasn't. It's still going on. I just mentioned it at Jackie McCall. What's up to Elgin? You says I agree. Span says in order to have civil rights, one must be civil first. That's funny. That's funny. You know what I mean? But in regards to a panel, I think only a selected number of people or recommended person would be on the panel. You know what I mean? It'd be a good conversation for the most part, I'd say. Right? Oh man. What up to Shannon? Shout out to you. You said who was Brother Smith for? Wayne Smith. I'm talking about Wayne Smith. Oh man, you funny, Smith. Shannon says, I hope all are having a great day for sure. Appreciate that. EFP said that's a good idea. Absolutely. Span says the Constitution deals with this. All right. Sion says the way his wife died and her grandson and her kids, they went through a lot. Yeah, that's something deep right there. What up to Eddie Johnson? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. Brother SV, he says by 1967, Martin Luther King seen that his dream became a nightmare. Wow. He said he got more radical in his teaching and tried to organize all poor people. Wow, that's crazy. He says organize all poor people. Right? Let me see who else. If I missed anybody in the chat room, please forgive me. Just gotta make sure right quick. What's up to Barbara Mosley? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. Christopher Spans agreed with Brother SV. Shemaiah 40 said, it's much to learn about history, period. In case many doesn't remember or know things was coming to a change back in them days. Span says he also said he led his people to a burning building. What you mean by that? To a burning building. You talking about Martin Luther King, or you talking about Malcolm X at Christopher Span? Let me know. It's a good conversation for the most part. You know, it seemed like, you know, more people are side with Malcolm X. You know? Oh, you said Martin Luther King. Okay. So you're saying Martin Luther King led his people to a burning building. What was the reason that he did that? Known Unknown says, but the truth is too real for most people, and would rather live in the lie. I mean, well, this is what this conversation is for. Yeah, I mean, if people got truth on it or whatever thoughts or opinions or whatever they studied or know, you know, feel free to you know, display it in the chat room. All right. Shemaiah 40 says, I don't believe he did that purposely. Okay. Naisha says, he says, notice it's the new generation that always has to hate on somebody that helped you. Hold up. Help you. It was a black youngster that went up in the church and unalived Martin Luther King's mom. Wow. Let me see. Let me look that up right quick. So Martin Luther King's mother, Alberta Williams King, was shot and unalived on June the 30th, 1974, while playing the organ at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, 6 years after her son's assassination. Wow. The shooter, Marcus Wayne, targeted her because she was close to her husband, Martin Luther King Sr. Wow. Who he originally intended to kill, claiming all Christians were his enemies. The attack also fatally wounded Deacon Edward Boykin. That sounds like a Hebrew Israelite right there, honestly. Let me look this person up. This person has a picture. A black kid. This kid look young though. Wow. Yeah. I ain't know his race before I read that. That's something a Hebrew Israelite would say, honestly. All right. Jackie McCall says they truly feared Malcolm X. Sion says, unfortunately, in this world, people like Malcolm X, who have a very strong independent thinking capacity, won't last, or they're alive and they are hated. Shemaiah 40 says, people back then was willing to die for the right cause no matter what. Baba Moses says, I believe that about Martin Luther King. EFP says, question mark. What is that reference to? Christopher Span says, you can't have this conversation without dealing with organizations, both of them. But Malcolm X stood to the very things that swore to protect him. All right, Phillips says they're trying to start or push for segregation now in some southern states, 2026. Wow. Genome Pieces, I'm tuning back in from work. Still team Dr. King, though. Okay. Naisha says passed away in prison at the age of 44. Sion says ask Minister Smith about which one he prefers. Oh, man. Let me see. Let's see what he say. All right. Jackie McCall says Martin Luther King was a weak man. He chose, Wayne Smith chose Dr. King. He chose Dr. King at Sion. All right. Yoki says we were misled by both. We? Yoki, you said we were misled by both. Uh-oh. We? Barbara Moley says Malcolm X says Plymouth Rock failed on us. For sure. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock, right? You talking about that speech? Shemaiah 40 says it was always about equal rights movement. Jackie McCall says there are no black leaders in the community today. Everything is out of order. That's just my opinion. No black leaders? Out of, I don't know how many black people in the world, but out of 8+ billion people in this world, you're saying there is no black leaders. None. You know what I mean? What is your definition of a black leader? What is your definition of a complete, we're talking about a complete black leader or leader, period. You know what I mean? Never mind the skin color. Matthew says both men were crucial, pushing America's conscience and structure in different ways with their combined pressure, creating monumental change. Okay. David B says Wayne Smith isn't here. No, not to my knowledge, but he's on the text message. Jackie, I think I read that one. My fault. Jay Fuller, what up? Shout out to you. Span says, let me just say this. I'm not a radical racist, nor do I hate other ethnicities. I by no means hate people. We are having a simple discussion. If you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. Said Geno Jennings. Geno Jennings. I believe there's some good individuals who could be leaders. You know what I mean? There's certain communities out there that you may not hear about certain people, but they're doing good things in their community. You know what I mean? Back in Jersey City is this guy named Educational Gilmore, and whatnot. He does great things for the community of where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? So I want to know what's your definition of a good leader for the community. You know what I mean? All right. Span said Geno Jennings is a black leader, but Geno is for all people. Sion says, "May Malcolm X so rest in peace." Shemaya says, "It's still some people just don't listen to the black leaders we have. They out here doing what they want to do. That's why you may think that." Span said, "Geno Jennings, and not just because he's my pastor, talk about all organizations, backs up what he preaches, and has love for the people." Right? Sion says his brothers turned against Malcolm, blood brothers from the Nation of Islam. All right. Brother SV says, when it comes to so-called black leaders who were in the U.S. in the past, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey is who I respect the most. Both had some flaws and some things I disagree with on though. Sion says, not just brother and the religion, but his own brothers did not like that he was going against Elijah Muhammad at the end. He says, I just get so upset when I think about Malcolm X. He wrote that at Sion. Appreciate that. What up, G Swole? Shout out to you. Hope all is well. All right, so Sion. Wayne Smith said, even though Malcolm X was living a more righteous life than Dr. King. So he's stating that Malcolm X lived a more righteous life than Dr. King. I think it was something similar. I said that there's people outside of church who's more righteous than those who are inside of church. Folks think because they can quote a couple of scriptures and they can speak the truth and things like that. You can speak all the scriptures you want. You can break down all the scriptures you want. You can speak all the truth from the Bible you want, right? But if you're not applying that to your life, it defeats the whole purpose. You understand? So that's why, when people come on here, they act over righteous, they start quoting scriptures and stuff like this. Yeah, you're speaking the truth, whatever the case may be. But are you applying that to your life? You understand? There's a lot of people out there like that. They quote scriptures left and right, this and that. Trinity this, Trinity that, Jesus Christ is God, divorce from marriage, all this other stuff. But they ain't applying that one thing to their life to try to live holy and righteously. This is why I don't take a lot of people serious when they quote Bible all day, every day. I don't take them serious. Even to the false prophets out there, I don't take you serious. All right, let's get back to the topic at hand. G Swole. Wow, Smith, you had a point. Smith had a little point right there. I give you that, Smith. G Swole says society pushed Martin Luther King more due to his non-violent movement and less of Malcolm X due to him being about violence. Well, here's the deal. My thing is, I'll be with Malcolm X on that one. You know what I mean? I'll be with Malcolm X on that one, man. It's not that, I wouldn't say Malcolm X pushed like violence, like it's all about that. But if somebody do something to you, what you gonna do? What in the world? Hold on for a second. Y'all got to hold on right quick. Some commotion going on. Hello? Yeah. We got that out the way. I ain't know what's going on out there. Oh, man. All right. So where was we? What up to Scotty number 33? Shout out to you. You says a good leader follows Christ's word 100%, 1000%, excuse me. You says a good leader. All right. Shemaiah 40 says Minister Williams as well is a leader to me because he will never lead you in the wrong direction. He'll give you the Bible for all he knows, just like PJ. All right. Barbara Moses said, there's nations for sure. Sion said, just can't think about Malcolm X and not feel so bad. I mean, the situation with Malcolm X, because I'm pretty sure a lot of us seen the documentary on Netflix. I think it was called like Who Killed Malcolm X or something like that. I seen that, and I also see, little documentaries on like YouTube and stuff like that. Jay Fuller said, to be a natural leader, shouldn't you be spiritually led by the Lord? That's a good point. All right. Sion says, but let me go back to you at Jay Fuller. So if there's a person like in a certain community that's doing good things and keeping things in order in their community and whatnot, but not in the church, what would you call them? Yeah, I mean, would you still take away what they're doing good for that community? All right. No. You put Jesse Lee Peterson. No. You got to take Jesse Lee Peterson out of that one. At Sion. No. Not him. No way. You put Jesse Lee Peterson. Stop that. You put Jesse Lee Peterson. Barbara Mosley says, no, I'm typing all small letters for sure. All right, cool, appreciate that. G-Swole said, it kind of sucks that Malcolm X doesn't have a day to celebrate like MLK does. Sion mentioned that earlier. About there's a day for there's a day for Martin Luther King, but not a day for Malcolm X. All right. Naisha says, I'm sticking with Martin Luther King. Okay. Paris says, both men were murdered. Both were giving something threatening to the world. No matter who killed who, their line of teaching was not accepted by the government. Okay. What's up to Sheila Davis? Shout out to you. Brother SV says, Martin Luther King owned guns. He smoked cigarettes. He was a womanizer. What do you mean by that? At SV, that he was a womanizer. All right. I appreciate that. At Dorothy Wagner. Shout out to you. Jackie McCall says, Malcolm X on Martin Luther King as a weak leader. We as a people just don't know how to agree and disagree with one another without being at one another's throat. Yo, Jackie McCall, man. That's why I think you'd be good for that panel. Shemaiah 40 says, Dr. King and Malcolm X both did things good, but in different ways. They had a different outlook towards different things. Okay. G-Sports says, I heard the same thing, like on the day of his murder, he had a fast woman in a motel room. I think I heard of something like that too a while ago. You said a fast woman. Come on, man. Why? Any other time you saying, a prostitute or something like that, you got to put a fast woman. If it wasn't his wife, then you know who it was. You know what I mean? All right. Jerry says, "This is Jerry from Ghana. I really like Malcolm, even though I did not listen much about Dr. King. I learned a lot listening to Malcolm X interviews and lectures." Jackie McCall said, "There's a lot of drug dealers doing a lot of good things for their community, but that doesn't make them good. That doesn't make them leaders, no matter how much they give." True. That's a good point right there. Jackie McCall says they looked at Martin Luther King as a nonviolent man, and they looked at Malcolm X as a violent man. Okay. All right. David B said he was unalive while standing on a balcony, having a cigarette. Wow. Wow, that's crazy. All right. Let me see if I missed anybody else. What's up to Jared James? He says, Pastor said that Sunday. What you referring to? What are you referring to that he said that Sunday? Let me know. All right. Shemaiah 40 says, we can't judge nobody, so why all that have to do with what they did for the people in the world, not just in their own communities? Now, I want to go back to Jackie McCall's. I want to go back to one of your comments. You mentioned that there are a lot of drug dealers doing a lot of good things for their community. Drug dealers. Now, I'm not mainly referring to drug dealers. Yeah, I mean, I'm referring to people that's not even in that bracket. That's away from all that nonsense and things of that nature. Basically, I'm talking about those who just not in the church, you know what I mean, but living a righteous lifestyle. We're talking about people like that. You know what I mean? How do people from the church perceive somebody who's not in the church, but they living a more righteous life than a lot of other people that's in the church, but they're doing a lot of good in their communities? How do people in the church perceive those people? You understand? Because there are people out there that's like that. They're living a more righteous life than those who are inside of the church. You understand? So that's basically what I'm talking about at Jack and McCall. Let me know what you think about that. All right. Yoki says, I believe victories of the civil rights movement did not address true systematic issues in our community. We were blinded by segregation and the violence, which is important, but civil right is bigger. Yo, David B., you funny. Jay Fuller said, well, that person may be fulfilling a good part of scripture. I still ask the question, is a form of violence or a decision made that helps all, but the evildoer still gives us that chance at a pure heart. Okay. G. Swole said, but it seems like Malcolm X was admired in Africa when Nelson Mandela was pushing Malcolm X on the kids of Africa to keep his legacy alive. Okay. All right. What's up to Your World of One? Shout out to you. She might. Yo. Yeah, what's up, man? It's all good. Man, oh man. Ah. My fault. That was the maintenance people. I mean, all right. Where we at? David B says, not everyone that says Lord will make it into heaven. All right. Um, Okay. Jackie McCall said, that's true, my brother. There's a lot of people that don't even attend so-called church and are more moral than the ones that do go to the so-called churches. That shouldn't be. That is true. That is true. And listen, and doing more for their community than those who are inside the church who call themselves Christians and whatnot. You know what I mean? All right, what's up to Sandra Robinson? Your World says, thanks from Texas. Shout out to Texas. Hope all is well. Shemaya 40 says, they felt bad about the wrong they doing for getting money for bad drugs that are being sold in the community. So it's much to say about them giving back. You talking about drug dealers? I don't classify drug dealers as being any type of leader. I'd say I wouldn't classify them as being any type of leader at all. I mean, just because they give back a couple of dollars to the community or help out the kids or buy kids ice cream and stuff like that, because that used to happen in the hood. You know, the drug dealers used to maybe buy us junk food or ice cream when an ice cream truck come and stuff like that, and tell us little advice. But I still don't classify them as no type of leader at all. All right. So let me know. Shemaya 40 says, they not know leaders. I was speaking on why they give back in the first place. All right, in reference to drug dealers and whatnot. All right. Let me see where we at. Appreciate that, Barbara Mosley. Be safe out there for sure. Shannon 68 says, help us, Lord Jesus. Absolutely. You know what I mean? I would say there's not much leaders out here. I will say that it's not much leaders out here. It's some, but not much out here for sure. All right, we got a couple more minutes left. Before we knock off, before we get out of here. So if you got any last closing remarks, feel free to leave it in the chat room. Lord willing, we'll be on later on the second YouTube channel. We'll see what we can do. Or we'll be on Facebook chatting it up with the people. So if you got any last closing remarks, feel free so we can close this thing out. It was a great conversation in general, you know, about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. or leaders in general. What's up to Mr. Peace? Shout out to you. Hope all is well at Mr. Peace. Renee Burton says, I live in Memphis. They say Martin Luther King wasn't a follower of Jesus Christ. Check the titles out. God bless you too at Shemaya 40, Shannon 68. I appreciate that for sure. Gino P says, I'll be back again. I'll catch you rewind. Peace. Part 2 for sure. Appreciate that at Gino P. All right. G School says, was you ever prideful over being black? Never. Never. I don't know. Some people are. I don't know why. You know what I mean? I don't care about no skin color. I don't care about that at all. You know what I mean? I don't care about black, white, Spanish, whatever the case may be. Listen, we all equal when it comes to the day of judgment. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be equal for everybody. You know what I mean? Skin color won't matter when we die. You know what I mean? It won't matter. You know what I mean? I know some people, well, the black man this, the black man that. I don't care about that. You understand? All right? Were you? Jackie McCall says, I agree with you, brother. There are a few. All right? G Swole, now you answer the question. You know what I mean? Were you ever prideful? In general. For sure. John Doe says, I would say Malcolm did more for the community. The civil rights movement didn't benefit us in the long run. In fact, the Skittles hijacked it. It said the Skittles hijacked it. Wow. All right. So I don't know why some people are like that at G Swole. I mean, personally, I don't know. I mean, as if being black, we got more powers. I mean? As being black is gonna give us an automatic ticket to heaven. I mean? Listen, I would have hoped it was that easy. I would have hoped it was that easy. The Hebrew Israelites, they're that way. Is it that easy to make it in of a skin color? Is it that easy? All right. Jay Fuller says, I remember as a child I wanted to be white for carnal reasons. Huh. Wow. Wow. Radical. G Swole says, not really, but I don't like when other races say the N-word. I mean, hey, me personally, I don't care. It don't bother me. At the end of the day, I go on with life. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and focus on another race saying the N-word. You know what I mean? I can care less at the end of the day. That's not going to help my salvation, worrying about this white man saying the N-word or this whatever saying the N-word. How is that going to help out my salvation? You know what I mean? You got people who come on here, right? And they could be a white person and say the N-word all day on social media. I mean, people gonna say it, man. Whether we like it or not. I mean, at the end of the day. You know? All right? Jamal says, Martin Luther King, no laws were passed from Malcolm X except religious material in prison. Oh, man. You said Martin Luther King, but both were worthy of respect, you put. Wow. So a lot of y'all had some pros and cons, some good comments and things like that on both. For the most part, definitely appreciate that. In general, you know what I mean? Why don't you like? I'm not saying you're supposed to like it, but why does it bother you if another race says the N-word? You know what I mean? Do it bother you when a rapper says a woman is a B? You know what I mean? Let me know, because that's more disrespectful. Let me know. You gotta let me know. You gotta make it make sense. If these rappers out here like Future and Drake, Fabio Foreign, Pop Smoke, DMX, Jay-Z, you know what I mean? They calling these girls B's and whatnot in they rap music, and we don't feel the same way as somebody saying the N-word. You know what I mean? Let me know. You understand? So, a white man saying the N-word, whether it's Machine Gun Kelly or Eminem, you know what I mean? Or whoever, you know? You understand? Man, they call females all type of names. You know what I mean? So when we hear the rappers say the B word, you know, we got mothers, we got sisters, we got daughters. So when they saying, oh, blank this B over here, knock her up over here, then knock her sister up over here, then knock her mother up over here, they all B's. Oh, it's okay in the rap lyrics. But if a drunk white man says the N-word outside, oh, it's a big problem. I don't get it. You understand? I'm gonna want to yoke the rapper up more so than a white man. You know what I mean? That's me, for the most part. Yeah, I see the videos on YouTube and Facebook where, you know, white people, well, they saying they white. I don't know. They could be Spanish, because some Spanish people, you know, look white. You know what I mean? I mean, you got Spanish rappers that say the N-word. You mad at Fat Joe? You know what I mean? You mad at Big Pun, things like that. You mad? I mean, you gotta let me know, G Swole. Let me know, man. You know what I mean? Because a lot of East Coast rappers who are Spanish, they say the N word in their rap songs. You know, I don't know too much Spanish people on the West Coast where you're from, who are rappers. I can't really remember. All right. So let me know, G Swole. Let me know. You know what? That'd be a good topic on Facebook too, man. You just influenced me to think of a topic to talk about on Facebook at G Swole with the N word and the B word. You know what I mean? I want to see what the people got to say on Facebook about that. You know what I mean? We're thinking about something with that one. All right, we were supposed to wrap it up, but G Swole, man, you start something up, man. You starting something up right now, man, for me to stay on just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer, all right? Span says, you're back, facts. You says, that struck a nerve. Jackie McCall said, that sells money, man. That makes money is all about the dollar. Oh, yeah. I mean, it sells, it makes money and stuff like that, but it's still disrespectful. It's still disrespectful. Like Gina was saying, like, let me go to the video. Let me see something. I can find something.
Who will stand up for me? Who will stand? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Who's willing to really die for? That's it. You sit in these churches. Go ahead, man. They look beautiful on the outside. Yes. Beautiful on the inside. Oh, yes. But who's in there that's really ready to stand up for the Most High? That's right. Whole earth. Whole earth. All people. Yes. A chosen people and down thereof. That's right. And man, it's beautiful to be a called people. Yes. A chosen people. Oh, yes. For he is our peace. He. Jesus is our peace. Who hath made both one. The Bible calls him the Prince of Peace. The Prince of Peace. Who hath made both one. Meaning, who was the both? Jew and Gentile. That's now right. One people. That's right. One people. One people. No niggas in the chat. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Go ahead, Pastor. Did you hear what I said? Go ahead. And Ron, when you play this, don't you bleep it out. I say it ain't no niggas in the chat. Go ahead, Pastor. God didn't say, let us make nigger in our image. No. He said, let us make man. Man. That's right. It ain't no crackers in God's church. That's right. There is no spicks in God's church. That's right. There is no chinks in God's church. That's right. It is brother and sister, in God's church. That's it. That's right.
We're going to leave off with that one. We're going to leave off with that one. You know what I mean? Just give y'all a little bit of that. Right? Your world says it's disturbing because they've become so conditioned to disrespect. I do see a change in consciousness toward uplifting our people. Span said I had to pick up my daughter. Wonderful at Christmas Span. Brother SB says I love this message. This from when PJ preached in Richmond, Virginia. You was there. Wonderful. At Brother SV, you're absolutely right about that one. So God bless everybody out there, and Lord willing, we'll try to make it on later on the second channel. We'll see what we're talking about, or Facebook. You know, we got a busy evening, but we definitely would try hard to come back on here to have some more conversation. All right, so God bless everybody out there, those who chimed in on the chat room and those in the background. God bless to you all. I'm Tony Harvin, signing off. I'm out. Peace.